So these tariffs are part of a broader framework, right? And it all kind of spills down, like the straw that stirs the drink is the sovereign debt situation. The fact that this credit system increasingly relies for, as the final backstop, the US government to keep going more and more and more into debt. Right. So you think about action plans, what's going on with, the gold markup as well and imports into the United States. If you kind of just treat these all as separate events, like none of it makes sense. But if you try to think about them logically and what's being attempted to be accomplished in the end, you'll start to see some method revealing itself, some sanity in the madness. So what do I mean by that? Why is the gold being reshored into the United States? Why is so much physical gold coming in for delivery, right? Why is gold on such a bull market? Gold exists to reprice credit claims. Like when a credit bubble becomes unsustainable and you're getting less and less bang for your buck out of every incremental unit of credit creation in terms of economic output, and you have more and more trouble servicing the debt. Eventually, you need something to rebase the credit claims against. You need to recollateralize against something, right? A big part of that something, and this is going on with the broader story of gold accumulation by central banks, is you get gold inventories, gold stock inside of your sovereign. You reflate on top of that. You've debased your money, right? You've inflated part of your debt problem away, but you need to close off your economy, like in goods and services, but then also in your financial economy and capital accounts, to keep that inflation from walking out the door, and ultimately, like the costs of that hitting your public, your citizens, if you will, under your sovereign jurisdiction. You want to keep that reflation kind of hermetically sealed inside of your borders to as great a degree as possible, right? So when you think about it, one, why is there more gold coming in? Because we're bidding it up. Like to get this amount of gold, taking physical delivery, you need big balance sheets behind it. You need big buyers. It doesn't happen without the sanctioned approval of the leadership in your financial system, but as well as your political leadership and probably the Fed as well. Monetary policy. They would have to be. You would have to have buy-in to get this result kind of worked through. So you bring in all the gold. If you're going to rebase the credit stack against that, you're going to remonetize gold. And gold's been in a massive bull market. I mean, you could say this phase since November of 2022, but also since the bottom in the mid 2010s, coming out of the GFC. You want to keep that kind of reflation that you conduct, like rebasing the credit stack to make the debt payable, the debt within your economy, both private debts and public debts, serviceable. Part of it is going to come from marking up the gold, and then when you do that, you want to lock down so that that purchasing power doesn't walk away or leave your citizens' savings, because a lot of their savings are tied up in fixed income and credit within the United States, domestically, and then also the stock market. You want as much of it to stay within the closed system as possible. So you do things like, all right, what are the tariffs effectively doing, right? Let's say it's the apples to apples same good, something that can be produced both domestically and abroad. Just pick a widget, but you're actually doing with the tariff. Yeah. So you've got a market clearing price. If assume costs go up to some degree, but let's say there's an incremental, I've seen some analysis saying 1.8% CPI impact from these tariffs. So let's say prices rise by 1.8%. Your domestic producer just captures all of that as revenue. Nothing changes in their tax code. Like, granted, the next step in this implementation plan is most likely going to be tax policy. That's coming. So your domestic producer, really, apples to apples so far with these tariffs, nothing changes on his or her cost structure, right? The clearing price is a price taker in the economy for like a commoditized good or service. That'll just inch up, just based on where the clearing price is in the market for their specific good or service. From the foreign producer, what has to happen is they sell their good, let's say, it enters a port to like a merchant, a trader, an importer, who now has to face, in the worst case, like the highest tariffs on this list are like 94%. I saw Madagascar, I think, was the highest. Let's say it's like Madagascar cinnamon or something. I don't know. Let's say you also have cinnamon production in the United States. I don't know if we produce cinnamon bark or not. I don't know if we can here. It's not like coffee, right? Coffee, we produce some coffee in Hawaii, but our coffee is pretty much all imported. Our bananas, all imported, stuff like that. But let's say it's the same good, apples to apples. The clearing price is the clearing price. If you're the importer, you know what you can get on the open market, more or less, as a price taker. You now have a 94% tariff. So if your producer from a foreign country wants to sell to you, he's going to have to take less. He'll have to take fewer dollars, right? So if they want to keep competing in the U.S. market, on the net, they are going to get fewer dollars. Now that assumes that the price impact isn't like it's incremental, it is probably upwards, but is it de minimis or is it hyperinflationary? That effect is what you have to wait and see, and I think it comes down to for each specific good, to what degree is the U.S. producer cost competitive? Is where that impact shows up. But on the net, what you would expect here is fewer dollars being sent outside of the U.S. economy is what you're doing. So effectively, what you're doing is you're clamping down, you're closing off the U.S. economy more and more. So if you start viewing these policies in tandem as the U.S. seeking to obviously say protect or isolate its own economy, or its dollar, if you will, its capital account, these things start to make more sense, and you can hopefully make better predictions.